Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads and must converse is the channel. Nice to see everybody. And Friday night. Friday Night Live, baby. Tonight is a very special live, that's for sure. I have Phillip Freedenberg, who is the author of America and the Cult of the Cactus Boots, in wait. This is my edition here. They're now on to a second edition. This thing has been revised. I will get a copy. I want to see what kind of revisions, what they did with it. But I think it's just, grammatical kind of structural stuff. Not anything to do with like revising the story or the plot in any kind of way. What's up, Daniel? Nice to see you, brother. Always cool to see you. Amy at the Dusty Bookshelf. What's up? Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday, Pavio. What's up? This is going to be a crazy, crazy night. Mainly because it's Friday and I'm just down for it. You know what I mean? But also because Phil is a freaking badass. So if anybody has seen on my channel, I've done a lot of hype for this book. And let me tell you, I am really, really happy that I did it. Hey, Alan, what's up, bud? Rick Harsh, the man is in the house. Chris Robinson, nice to see you, brother. Hopefully, he's probably picking around on his banjo. Am I right? Christina, everybody's in the house. All right, cool. Man, what's up, Steve? Nice to see you, brother. Always cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring Phil on because Phil and I can talk for, an hour just talking about whatever, right? So when I'm thinking about getting on and doing this thing, I'm like, man, we might as well just do the whole hour. So I'm not doing a haul today. I'm not doing a big thing today with showing books. Today, I'm really going to just focus on. Hey, Christy, nice to see you. I'm going to focus on America and the Cult of Cactus Boots, a diagnostic with Phillip Freedenberg. Hey, brother.
Hi, Noah. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Nice to see you. Happy Friday.
Thank you. Happy Friday. It's very nice to see you.
Looks like we're filling up the chat. Might as well say hey to everybody and introduce yourself a bit. I did a little intro.
Yeah, well, I'm Phillip Freedenberg, author of America and the Cult of the Cactus Boots, Diagnostic.
You show the front, I'll show the back. And then I'll show the side. Fantastic. They've seen the whole book now.
It's important to me, Noah, as I've expressed to you countless times outside of a social environment and social context. Thus, I think it's valuable to tell you in this setting how deeply, genuinely thankful I am to you for everything you've done for this book and your support of this book and your passion for this book. Not only as a reader, but as someone that has helped bring the book to readers in places that we otherwise wouldn't have reached. And as deeply as I'm grateful for your support of the book, I want you to know, truly from me to you, I'm most thankful that in the grand sequence of sort of abstract, exciting, hierarchical convergences and synchronicities of this book, I'm thankful for the friendship that you and I have developed because of literature and because of books. And thank you.
Man, you're very welcome. I accept your gratitude for sure. And I'll throw it right back at you, Phil.
Yeah.
It is such a wonderful, generous, hyper energetic love for literature and inventiveness that you've done here. It's no secret that I love this book, but it is a very special thing. I feel very special to be in on the level that I am as an elder cactus member.
Sure.
And it's one of the coolest kind of things that I've gotten into during my whole booktube, you know, experiment here.
Sure.
So just to give everybody a little bit of context, what it comes down to is all of my previous videos, with the exception of my review on it, I had done in a conversational style, just talking about what was actually going on, having not read the book, talking with Phillip, talking with Jeff, the illustrator of the book, who is a badass, by the way.
Absolutely.
Let's not go any further until we call that out, because the illustrations to this thing really set it off. You do an amazing thing, but your partnership with Jeff Walton on this thing is a match made in heaven. I mean, you guys were uniquely fitted to do this project. It's great.
I agree, and it's certainly I'm missing Jeff's presence here tonight, but it's imperative that I share my gratitude and thanks to Jeff, not only for our 20-year friendship now, but for our almost otherworldly creative connection, because there is no other human being that could be put to such a sort of excruciatingly detailed level of surreal and abstract thinking that I feel that I bombard him with so often. In many respects, the work of the book in our sort of creative connection was such that there's no one else I could write all night and then come to in the morning and just give him these sort of cliff note descriptions of what's happening and say, well, okay, now can we visualize this? And Jeff, obviously, the talent and power of his vision as a visual artist is firing on all cylinders in this book. But what a lot of people don't realize as well is that some of the brilliance of what Jeff has done in this is his ability to so naturally visualize these things and bring them in from no point of reference other than these sort of obtuse, creative, almost cinematic explanations of what's happening, and then say, okay, yeah, I'll go work that out, and then create something that's absolutely masterful. So
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Travis over at Myers Mega Fictional Musing said he draws Rick just like Rick looks. Well, I mean, he drew Nancy Reagan on his head on a coyote, the
Sure.
way that looks.
Sure. And I want to say hi to Travis and thank you. And just a quick story for Travis is that I remember the sort of inspiring warmth, enthusiasm, and excitement of not only seeing so many people get the book and share it, but express their excitement for it. But I remember Heather and I watching Travis open Cactus boots with his kids. And I remember immediately, I had never spoken to Travis, and I said, I immediately just have to FaceTime him and say thank you. So there's so many people in the community that I feel what's so inspiring is that this book is now, it's not my book, it's not Jeff's book, it's the book for the community. And
that's right.
The idea was creating a novel that would be a love letter to all of those passions that we all share of what do we look for in a novel? What are we looking for when we search for meaning? What are we using these abstract symbol systems for in our lives? And it's been really exciting to watch the book become something that has been meaningful to others. And that's what's most inspiring for me now, is letting the book go into the world and letting readers find creative inroads to the book, serving as something purposeful in their creative life. So that's been really remarkable.
It's just such an amazing, generous offering as well, Phil. That's the thing. And so let's get into it. There's a lot to talk about. I want to get to some of the substance and really pick your brain a little bit if I can.
Sure.
Rick had said, you know, the energy and imagination on display in this book is off the chart, and I concur with that for sure. But the main thing, one of the main things that, you know, we have to talk about is how freaking funny this thing is. It is insane how funny some of this stuff is in the midst of this techno horror apocalypse that Phil and Jeff are enduring in this book. So, you know, you had the extreme competitive ironing, and the Rick Harsh homunculus is hilarious. And I wanted to just say and ask, you know, why extreme competitive ironing? And when you were coming up with this
Sure.
part, the level of energy that it takes to be this wildly imaginative during this section, I mean, I can't even wrap my head around it, really. The acronym that you came up with, that is actually 3.5 lines of letters to acronym this thing that you came up with. It is, I stopped and was rolling, just rolling. I said, this is complete absurdity. And so how, you know, in lieu of saying, how did you do it?
Sure.
You know, every time I'll say it this one time, and then
for extreme competitive ironing, to a certain degree, at its simplest level, there was two fundamentally hilarious and inspiring inroads to why extreme competitive ironing. The first was when we envision a introspective view of the grand American cultural landscape. On many levels, one of the binding agents between people is sports. And if you look at it, we oftentimes see people that are desperately trying to see one another, and they're desperately trying to connect to one another, and they're trying to find ways to feel human. But there's a certain vulnerability that comes with that allowance of a true portrait of ourselves to others. So we oftentimes see these quick references to, well, we can talk about what as a blanketed umbrella of meaning in our lives. And I've just found that oftentimes it's sports. So I thought, how incredible would it be if we used that sports analogy, but we put it into this absurdist perspective where we said, well, can we use that platform to talk about something more profound, which is a new creative meta paradigm? And one of the things that's unique
that's
about
when it starts.
The second point is that, just to reveal and share with readers, at the start of the competitive ironing section, it says begin pataphysical statistics of the meta paradigm. Imaginary subset categorization 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a clue when we look at this Miller-esque philosophy of creativity where we're exploring the meta paradigm. I tried to take the sports construct as a social and cultural binding theory of what unifies people and turn it over to say, what if we experimented with reimagining a view of our world in a way that we've never before thought of at a new creative level, and why not play with sports? And I thought, taking extreme competitive ironing as this baseline that would then allow me to just experiment with powerful and energized creative thinking would be a good way to explore new ideas
and stuff that has never been put out there before. I mean, you get in there to a point where it actually says a string. It's in the one with the Nancy Reagan Coyotes, where you say these words have never been put in this way before, calling to the reader that these words don't mean anything unless you're giving it that. You're the one that's doing this when you see these words and they are completely new, uniquely fitted. And so it's a beautiful thing. And really this book is an interactive experience at the, I mean, all the time from page one, and only gets more so an interactive thing with the reader. And you had said characterized it as the book becomes conscious of itself. And so it's the reader and the book having a dialogue. Well, we have this kind of critical theory where, it's like the intent of the author versus, the reader's, what the reader gets out of it, and where's the right kind of looking at that kind of thing. Well, you just, bypass it all. It's a completely new, there's part of the uniqueness, part of the newness of what this novel does is because the novel itself becomes one party that the reader is in dialogue with, and there's not an author to worry about because it's the book itself. The book is self-aware in a big way.
That's one of the core ideas of the book, is this idea of, as a reader myself, I always would interact with books on an intellectual level and an emotional level and almost a spiritual level. And as I more deeply explored consciousness studies, I started to think deeply about this idea of what if there was a potential for a novel as an object to exist, which became a binding vibrational energy that allowed readers to connect through it by sharing a consciousness. You're reading the same book. I'm reading the same book. I'm writing a book. There's a character experiencing the book. And what is the place in this binding, which goes in many regards to that hard problem of consciousness? What is this epiphenomenal experience where within this neurobiology and this complex infrastructure of the brain does the self emerge? Does the conscious phenomena begin? And then I thought, why don't we put this into the heartbeat of a text? And then the text itself becomes this conscious electromagnetic toroidal energy field that becomes a gateway to connect into the unified field, which is this transcendent vibrational field of energy where the reading mind goes.
Right.
And we deconstruct the symbolic language system to the point that we move through the text into the book to enter a sort of transcendent ascension. And the Cult of the Cactus Boots is inviting readers to say, the abandonment of the self, the abandonment of the materialist nature of our traditional and conventional reality is escapable through literature.
Right.
And it is through our books that we connect in this way that allows us to connect, in that we become the same. And we deconstruct not only our language systems, but we deconstruct the barriers that traditionally keep us divided.
Right. And you a few things on that, but you said just everybody watching here knows the kind of affinity that you have for somebody that when you meet them and they've read the same book that you love already. And then you say, hey, have you read this book? And they say, yes. And then right then there is a huge amount to talk about, and you are connected in a big way. And this kind of thing, it harkens to something that another thing you said before, that first and foremost, you're primarily a reader. And you've come from this kind of love for literature as a reader, not as somebody who, wanted to craft a work in some kind of way, but just to explore these kind of ideas. And you are, fully in this book, seeping out your thoughts, your whole thing is there. And it comes through in the humor, but and also in the horror of this landscape that you've given to us. We are in a dystopian techno-apocalypse America of 2020, kind of an alternate reality 2020.
Or
And
is it alternate?
right. And is it? I mean, that how alternate it is a wonderful thing to explore, and something that I constantly return to and think on. And I'm like, this is wait, but that is happening,
Sure.
you
And
know?
there was a certain
So,
energy, Noah, that
so
proposed a real entropic existential terror that as a human being I was feeling
right.
living through what seemed like the collapse of a possible civilization around us in a pandemic, in a sort of psychotropic horrorscape of a political dystopia
Right.
that was trying to sort of captivate the potential of the creative human mind in a way that felt to me like it was oppression on a social structural level that in my lifetime I had never experienced before. And that feeling and that energy turned into this exploration of two very critical structures. What is the objective of the most powerful technology corporations that are striving to drain your attention
Right.
into a short attention span theater of this repetitive
And they're still doing
dopamine
it. I mean, it's
flood?
happening now.
And
It
then you
is
have
the
a government as well that's doing the same thing.
right.
And I just tried to converge those two variables into this uh, environment to say, are we accepting this? And are we going to collapse as a species? Or are we going to use something within the arts, such as literature, to bind us, to elevate and transcend?
Right, this word war, and it's the war that is on the US, and anybody that's in the United States and that has gone through this last, year and a half or more now, uh, knows exactly what you're talking about. If they're thinking, if they're watching this content and they're readers and things like that, I can't help but think that they are, you know, uh, wrestling with these kinds of questions. And you brought up, and what it is that the prize that they're after in the book and in real life, the prize that they're after is your attention and your consciousness, your conscious attention, you choosing your choice to keep going. And even YouTube is doing this now with bringing out shorts, like trying to get creators like myself and others just into shorter and shorter and less quality content.
Sure.
Quality, not quality as in production value or uh you know how good it looks, because that kind of stuff just gets better and better because
Sure.
you got to pack everything into 30 seconds or something.
And with
But
that in
there's
mind,
no real quality there. And
sure.
the battlefield of this thing is our media, is
And it's
media consumption.
the human mind.
Right.
And it's important to me to note as well that this idea of the function of the maximalist novel, what's the role of exercising maximalism in literature?
To fight against something.
For me, the use of maximalism in the novel was not just a spirited, creative, masturbatory play of the use of words for the sake of looking at how they combine and create new sort of literary and poetic environments. But the maximalist strategy in this novel was employed to make an argument that by practicing the exploration of a complex, heavily detailed information system, in some regard, is providing a cognitive exercise and training for re-entering how we combat this image-driven screen sync 6 neuroform concept in the book of that just flood for new information in the short attention span theater, to say that let's experiment with the radicalization of big ideas in our civilization again as a species, to
And
say that how do we exercise? How do we flex that spirit again and say, well, we're not just interested in that, we're interested in patiently delving into these powerful ideas that are bigger than us, but by entering into those discussions, not only in the longer trajectory of literary history, but through the course of the evolution of a species, we're saying, let's share these ideas together and explore them on a level that lets us experiment with complex thinking again.
It's great. And what a challenge to that this book is, because it is so entertaining and so captivating.
Sure.
I mean, I read the 600 pages in 2 weeks. I think you had said that Jim Gower, author of novel Explosives, read it twice.
Yeah.
In the same amount of time.
And I found
there's a testament to it right there.
An incredible feedback that I've gotten from readers and friends and family and critics is that the book is designed in a way structurally that in a sense is representative of the quest for meaning that we all compassionately share in our lives to try to make discoveries about how we come up with meaning from symbol systems. And I just really wanted to play with this idea in a way by using this Mandelbrot fractal structure. But I always knew that if we sort of burden a reader with the rigor or potential proximity to cognitive overload, there has to be a centrally threaded, compulsively readable adventure that always constricts back to what is happening to these two people. Because I just want it to be clear that there's an absurd, hilarious adventure woven through this big book of ideas about two people.
That's what propels you.
And there's
you're just constantly on that track with them.
Right. And it goes out and it comes back. And the book at its core is about an author and illustrator that want to publish a book. And the book that they want to publish is the one that's being written in a non-linear,
and the one that's being read.
Yeah, and the one that's being read in a universal timeline that represents a conformal cyclic cosmology that potentially represents an attempt to author a book over multiple lives in multiple books in a multiverse that continues to change while the author and illustrator start to lose the grasp on their ability to create a creative design of the world.
Nice. I love it. Okay, so we'll get into this kind of thing because I do want to explore like where your thoughts and how you kind of your thoughts about the cosmology behind this text or underneath, you know, the subtext maybe. A little bit, but first I wanted to see if, because see, when you say that a cyclic cosmology, well, I instantly go to like an Eastern way of looking at cosmology, right? Where you know there's no one and done lifetime, there's no one and done Earth, there's no one and done universe. It's just constantly born, sustained for a while, maybe even an unbelievable amount of time to our human minds, but then it dies and is destroyed, and there is a restart at some point. So this kind of thing, and there is a couple of illustrations in Eastern cosmology that I thought of and saw very, very quickly. One of them is Indra's net. Have you ever come in contact with that?
No.
Indra is the god, like the god of this world, the god of the universe in Hinduism, but not, you know, like a most high god. It is the god of this creation. It is a very, very long living god, thinks that he's immortal, that kind of thing, but it is just like the god, you know, the god. Indra has a special item called, and it's Indra's net. Every jewel, it's made of jewels, and every jewel reflects every other jewel. every jewel is reflected in each jewel. So it is a holographic principle is what it is. And this net is property of Indra because of his station, right? And so that's a property of the universe because that's Indra's station, is the entire universe as a whole. So I was thinking this kind of holographic principle totally shows up in your book, you know, and how it's little parts, and you don't know on a first read, you don't know on a maybe even a lot on a second read where you've come in contact with things and not you know, and not really understood them fully. I'm not here to bust spoilers out or anything.
Sure. Yeah.
But
I want to be mindful of that as well.
Yeah, but you know, to say it's a fractal, I think just as well, you know, there's this holographic principle that's being illustrated throughout. Is that right? Is that fair?
Unquestionably, it's for certain. And there's also the introduction of this idea of that on a symbolic level, at what point is there a limit to the potential of the imagined universe and reality at the point of energy when a reader's mind enters into a book? And that was one of the fascinating ideas that pushed me deeper into the book. And there's this compression that starts to occur where there's almost a pressure on the reader's consciousness to be driven deeper into the textual labyrinth of the book itself, all the way to the level that we start to have this metafictional experiment with exposure to this idea of word tunnels. The characters themselves at a certain point go through this transformational process of going through this logomorphia, where we turn from objects into words and then from words into vibration. And then at the point of exercising this ascension, when we reach this specific frequency, at which point there are studies that argue that consciousness is a pure vibration. If we achieve that, then we move through the text of the actual book itself to then become part of the unified field.
Right. So see, you never come off this thing. And this is what the book drives home, and I love you for it. When it comes down to it, consciousness itself is the ground of being. It's in your formulation here.
And at the point that
is that true?
The fundamental nature of the book is the conscious experience itself. And at what point do we allow for the gentle relief of abandoning the material's limitation of our perspective of the world to become something grander than ourselves? And my argument, as proposed in the book, is that it's when we free ourselves to the potential that when the reading mind evolves into a conversation with the text, it's at that point that we enter this mantra-like experience of what I sort of call animal sounds in the book. On a deconstructive level, we're just making animal sounds.
Right.
And how profound and powerful that we're two animals squawking at one another through technology right now, and we know that this means something deeply and powerful to us. If that doesn't shake your day up to the point that you go, what in the world is happening and how is this possible?
Right. I'm saying these sounds out of my mouth, and you know, and you understand what I'm saying, and a certain sound is me referring to you, and you know, different for it's awesome.
And how we find beauty and love and meaning in that, in a way that illuminates us powerfully to be compassionate and to be creative, is really what the book is. And on one level, the ultimate hope of the book is not that one reads the book and thinks, this is it. Well, of course, I would like everyone to have a wonderful reading experience, but I deeply believe that the novel as a progressive contribution to our culture and our civilization is something that still has the same power that it did 100 years ago and 200 years ago and 300 years ago, is that when someone puts that book down and they become inspired themselves to get up and create change, and someone reads a book and they say, it makes me think of Network when we say, I'm sick and tired of it and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Right.
And we're much more powerful than we believe. And my argument is that this cult of the cactus boots is a unified, intelligent species that, rather than being oppressed by dominant hegemonic social structures, is a species that will ascend through a unified consciousness through the power of creativity.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. It's an awesome assertion, and the book delivers. It delivers in spades. It's ridiculous. It's so strong, I tell you. So actually, in the book, you're getting transmissions from another world, maybe an alien species, maybe your parents from an alien planet.
Sure.
And you know, we'll delve more into that in a little bit. I don't want to make any assertions at this point in the show. We're a little over halfway through, but I was wondering, what I want to do is I want to get more about what Phil thinks or believes, right? If
Sure.
I can. Not
Sure.
just talk about the book. So maybe we do a little experiment. Can I get you to answer? What if I give you two options and you answer an either or, just right off the rip?
I'm excited for whatever's coming.
All right, pets or kids?
Kids.
LSD or DMT?
Both.
Nice. All colors or red?
Red.
Nice. Chris or Noah?
Both.
I love you, Phil.
I love you.
Very cool. All right, so
I thought that you and I might embark upon an endless social media experiment where we went into a 12-month either or question or answer experiment, but
just we'll pause there, guys. We'll pick this back up next week and just keep on going. So these transmissions are from an not necessarily specified place. They're like from the unified field itself in the book.
Sure.
Right. Like the alien race, I guess, is more advanced and they're kind of more in tune maybe to the unified field than Phil and Jeff are in the book, right?
Sure.
You're just kind of conduits. Where's the Orgon fiction generator now? And will you be employing it for the next book?
Yeah, absolutely I will. One of the things that's unique, and I don't necessarily know that it's a spoiler, but just to share with people, there's a proposition in the book that the author of the book within the book uses an alien technology called a macroscopic orgone fiction generator to author the book. So the author in the book puts his hands on this orgone device, which is an Anunnaki technology from the planet Nibiru, and the author's parents worked in a CIA SETI
right. Searching for extraterrestrial life, and they found it.
Sure. And then there's this idea that they were off planet, and they sent this device to their son to use it as a way to tune
to their son Phillip Freedenberg.
To their son Phillip
who's not you.
Who is not me. And as the scholar, the academic, there's an academic scholar named Manfred in the book who has written an academic treatise interpreting the book that you're reading. And he proposed that the actual individual Phillip Freedenberg doesn't exist outside of the book.
That's right.
Which is a theoretical line of critical thinking that I'm still grappling with, because most of what I've been able to tell is that I disagree with Manfred's assertions on a critical theoretical level. but there's something fascinating to say that he might be right. But the orgone fiction generator is an alien fiction device that allows a human being to tune what's called their cortex antenna to a grander cosmic vibrational energy that allows him to transmit to the reader the content of the book. But the risk of use excessively of the macroscopic orgone fiction generator is that there's a side effect known as word fever.
Right. That's why I brought it up. Because if you're using it, then we're going to get some more word fever, baby.
And use of the device leads the author to have a side effect where there's a deconstructive property to his understanding of language, to the point where it starts to output symbolic, linguistic imagery in a type of simulacrum, in this Baudrillardian sense of symbol and object no longer sharing a relationship. And when that deconstruction occurs, the author's parents know that that process can allow for possible entry through the text, through the word, into the unified field, because being off planet, they're aware that on a creative level, it may allow people the opportunity to overcome the oppressive forces of the dystopian government and technology organizations that are creating this assault on our consciousness.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got the distinct impression that the Nerubians are friends, not foes.
It was funny too. I'll say that I distinctly recall when my dad first read the novel, and he sent me a text and said, "Hey, I just wanted you to know that there's a new warranty that came up for the macroscopic orgone fiction generator. Would you like to renew?" And of course, yes.
Yeah, of course I did. It's served us well so far, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Served the general reader and yourself. So just on a personal interest, with the transmissions and simulacrums and all this kind of thing, have you received any transmissions other than what's in the book? And if so, were they from Philip K. Dick?
I have received a great number of transmissions at this point, none of which were from Philip K. Dick, but many of which...
How about Borges?
Many, not from Borges that I've been able to tell, but many of which at this point in this journey, I'm unable to repress the incoming information much longer, to simply argue that I would say that the Cactiverse is just beginning.
That's right. I think so too. All right. So one of the most awesome, if you're thinking about reading the book and you haven't read the book,
yeah,
then you want to get to page like 150 is where your mind is blown completely the first time. I mean, I was caught up in it after 20 or 30 pages. But 156 is this one right here. All right. And I don't want to necessarily go into it because this is just an awesome experience in and of itself. It's amazing what you have done with this book and all the tricks. You've thrown everything out there at us readers and made it work for us in amazing ways. But I don't want to talk about what might be the most, because that might be the most talked about when it comes down to looking at the future and people talking about what really just, I mean, man, it hits you so good.
Sure.
And Christopher Robinson did his review. Review on that, and I knew exactly what scene he was talking about.
If Chris is here, I want you to know that when we do these, I have an extraordinarily difficult time managing the sequence of screens that I'm looking at. So it's hard to look at the comments. So I just tune into you, so it still feels human.
Sure.
But
sure.
Chris Robinson is wonderful, and
he's wonderful. He's a wonderful reader, man.
And he's a wonderful musician, and he's a wonderful writer.
That he is. Christopher Robinson does banjo covers that are amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you, what's up, Recognition's Book Club? Recognition's Book Club in the house.
I
And
also
Peg.
I want to
Peg.
say,
Okay. See, now here's the second wave of people coming in to see us, bruh.
I want to say hi to Livey for a minute and give a quick
Yes.
Recognition's Book Club anecdote. Livey has been a wonderful source of energy and support since the early phases of this book being written.
Yes.
And I vividly remember there being because what I really want to share is to execute a novel of this degree of complexity. I feel that I went through much love and support of my wife in particular, Heather, but my whole family.
I bet.
That allowed me to truly spend 8 months with this novel superimposed over the entire world in my head. And I remember there being a specific time when I was at about 350 pages. And I remember texting with Livey, telling him like, hey, I'm at page 350. And this thing's really starting to become pretty interesting. And I can't wait to share it.
Heck yeah. So Christopher Robinson is here. He says, I'm still here and thinking about that section every day. And thank you guys. I mean, it's an amazing, just a punch. And I mean, I had hit you right after I read that, and I said, man, I looked through the book because I wanted to see if this was, something that you employed more than once, and you said no, and I said, hell yeah, because it's just too good, man. It's too damn good. But what I did want to talk about is your falling through this fractal portal on your way to get into the word tunnels, and you fall through this fractal portal and you fall into the mind of the creative brain. And that creative brain, the one that you're falling into, is the publisher of the book, the one that has been sending you transmissions, none other than Rick Harsh. And you are in Rick Harsh's brain, and it is this vast construct. It's awesome what you've done with it. But I want to say, and I just want to say, first off, it seems like you know more about the inner workings of the Rick Harsh brain than even Rick Harsh himself knows. Fair?
I want to say that I've experienced a completely life-changing and exotic tour of the interior architecture of the Rick Harsh imagination.
It's awesome how you explored creativity in that way, and even the biology of being inside, like another kind of fractal thing where, like, if all we have is in between my hands right now, that's a lot. That's a very, I don't feel that small.
Sure.
Let me tell you, you know what I mean? And so another holographic kind of principle. But honestly, you didn't ask for Rick Harsh's permission to enter into there. I know that for sure. Do you fear any reproach for that at all?
I would only hope that he would at one point experiment lovingly with a foray across the sulky and gyrus of my own cerebral cortex.
Nobody wants in there, Phil.
And take a look around.
No, nobody wants in there. I'm sure Rick is just fine not taking that excursion, sir.
I think it's worth mentioning too, at the core creative concept of how does one start writing a novel? How does one start writing a book? All of this came from a very simple idea of what if one day Rick Harsh, I started corresponding. I saw Chris Villa's video on The Manifold Destiny of Eddie Vegas, and it instantly changed my life because I, like everyone here in this discussion, is searching for that next book that is going to provide that exceptional reading experience. And I immediately said, I need this book.
Right.
And I communicated with Rick, and then Rick and I started exchanging messages. And within an instant, I thought, and I said to Jeff out loud, what if he started sending us these messages that sent us on this adventure that put us somewhere in a South American underground world where shaman that had the faces of Macaulay Culkin appeared and allowed us to have access to the other side of the universe through a portal. And then I said, this is it. I've been waiting 20 years to write a novel.
Just that inspiration, that flash.
This is it. And the thing that I want to say about that moment of inspiration is that many of us, all of us, are deeply connected to that one moment when you can have an idea that changes your life.
That's right.
And you're capable of making a decision to say, I'm going to allow this to come in, and I'm going to manifest this vision, or I'm not. And if anyone reads this book, I just hope that they come out of the last page and they say, today is the day that I'm going to create the thing that I've always dreamed of, because the world needs to hear your ideas.
It's awesome.
The world needs creative change, and it comes from all of us.
Right. And we need leaders to show so many people a way and blaze some kind of trail, no matter how effed up it might be. I really appreciate your trail, Phil.
And I appreciate you coming on it with me. And the simple thesis of the book is that all of the most profound theoretical threads of the history of the human species is emergent from the creative instinct.
That's right. And that inspiration, that impulse is the seed. Like right then, you know, it's you either go at it or you don't. That is a mind-blowing, amazing scene and vast. That's the thing that sticks with me from that is how vast you see the interior of the creative mind. And I loved it. I really did love it. By a percentage, just give me a percentage.
Okay.
How much of the book did you lift while you were in there?
There was no theft.
Whatever. All right, Phil, you got me. All right. So we're here within the last 10, maybe 15 minutes. We'll see how long we go right here. But I got one more question for you. And it is by this book, you have gained some kind of acceptance and embracing by the human race, right? That have read it. Which I assume was your goal. And what is your next step now that you have a foothold in the human race here, Phil?
The next step is to continue to dare to experiment with human connection on a level that argues that we have the potential to continue to take on the big ideas and find creative inroads to deeper meaning that unifies human beings on a level that's not just about books, and it's not just about division, and it's not about all of the things that are constructed to strive to keep us down. I want to continue to try to write books that strive to elevate the interconnected network of incredible and profound, beautiful, unified consciousness, where we say that the novel is the pathway to a future where we can continue to grow. And I don't mean that in a naive and sort of romantic way. I mean it in a way where that I believe that we have the potential to create a world where my kids and your kids inherit something that's better than what we've built now, because we make a choice not to allow a dominant minority to control the potential of
Right.
the human
And
creative
it
mind.
happened, and it's been happening, and it happens, man. It's so crazy, and I love to see the fight against it. I tell you, Phil, you and I am so happy that we have met and that we have fostered this kind of friendship and
Yeah.
become connected over this whole time. And I want to do something pretty special tonight. I am going to throw my hat into the ring. See, I'm not wearing one tonight. It's already in the ring. And as an elder member of the Cult of the Cactus Boots, I'm going to suggest a ritual and perform a ritual, and under the blessing of the high priest, and you can speak for Jeff Walton, I'm sure, as well. If I have your blessing, then it will go into canon. All right. So this is called the ritual bestowing of the manifold destiny of Eddie Vegas on the high priest of the Cult of the Cactus Boots, Phillip Freedenberg, by elder member Noah Clemens. I have a copy here of the manifold destiny of Eddie Vegas, a very special copy, a virgin copy. It's never been read. It's never been, even opened, other than the time that Rick Harsh signed his name in blood. And I want to give this to you and have this be one of these unreplicatable artifacts of the Cult and the Cactus Boots mythos. And it belongs to all of us. It will never be read, and it will never be out of the hands of a member of the Cult of the Cactus Boots.
I think that's beautiful.
Well, it will be on its way to you, brother.
You're
Wow.
You're incredible.
As are you. It's an amazing thing.
To celebrate that moment, I can only at this time honor that by experimenting here with a few daily mantras of the Cult of the Cactus Boots. And these words are to be read in sequence as the prayer to wash away the self. Raise your voice to the unified field and praise mantra number 11, which is to be read aloud twice a day at 3:33 p.m. and 11:11 p.m. on each of the 4 days repeating days of the celestial cycle of the cactus. I would like to without owning. I would like to shed the troublesome nature of the self. I would like to drive a magazine rack into a Chinese of plastics. I would like to dye a technique of irrational Eastern generals into believing sports car fuzz. Yellow in the attempt. I would like to dissolve. I would like to forever climb out of the human body spacesuit and float away. I would like to photograph a hairstyle of blue jeans while seducing the gas pumps that paint the moon into my gallery of visions and driver-induced automation. I would like to never start. I would like to never stop, for it would entail distance to the realization of points. I would like a syntax of washing machines to read my writing, realizing I and the manifestation of its drunken thirst for a sea of name brand detergents. I would like to date a hospital, call it a phone book, knife the word, stealing its wallet, get in line at the labyrinth of ears, denying the existence of adventure. I would like to deny civilization, the belief that it cannot be tuxedo in the closet, the universe with matchbook. I would like to crack their skulls open with a Pequot tomahawk and plant the great cactus inside their heads and let them flower deeply into the unified field.
Thank you.
All
Thank
hail
you, brother.
Calcalum.
All hail Cactus. This is a great show. Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I tried to call it out in my review of there that how much of a powerful figure the beginnings of things are. You call out the seeds and you do it just right, brother. And Gunter Albatross Plato is my boy.
Gunther Albatross Plato has shown us the way since the dawn of civilization.
That's right. So we'll end it there. Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, BookTube. Catch you on the next one.